Video games as a medium has evolved. Yes, back in the early days, we were much more PC than we were now. And video games were very much seen as a children's toy. However, in the 90s, that all changed due to the rise of other consoles besides the big corporate powerhouse known as Nintendo, and the rise of PC gaming, which was a platform that was relatively ignored by most people, except for the basement-dwelling computer programmers like the people who made Doom. Now, I'm not gonna say that PC was the only cause, but let's just say some disturbing games started being produced because of PC.
PC gaming became a platform where gamers could easily do taxes and play an entertaining game. And since no big companies really wanted to market to PCs, we got plenty of low-budget and basement games coming out. Some were innocent, while others were just downright disturbing. This list is not limited to PC games. However, it is a reminder of how far we've come as a community, as well as a way to remember the truly vile games that came out in the past. And I should mention that just because a game is disturbing does not make it bad.
This list contains disturbing games that are also horrible examples of humanity that contain no artistic value beyond the shock of the product itself. We will let you as the viewer decide which is which. With that being said, let's start the top 20 most disturbing games.
I remember playing this game for Tats Top Videos. Top 110 violent and gory games is a very hard script to write for me. This is a game where you play as a 12-year-old girl who wakes up in hell, mysteriously. You wander the halls and die. Die over and over and over again. This is one of those fetish games. However, it plays out as a very hard action puzzler. Every time you die, you're greeted with a long death animation that reminds you fucked up. In the second half of the game, you'll lose all of your clothing, which only makes the constant dying feel much more sinister and much more uncomfortable, especially since you're looking at a 12-year-old sometimes get licked or in other questionable things, usually involving bondage. It really makes the player want to turn away from the actions depicted on screen. However, you just want to finish the damn game. You're already halfway through it, and you just want to get it over with, and this compels the user to go through varying amounts of frustration they may feel. In the end, it's revealed that you were sent to hell for cursing someone, and each death you endured really happened, and you're forced to relive every painful death the game has to offer. There's no happy ending, just naked 12-year-olds dying. A lot. Luna Game is very interesting to say the least. Unlike Sad Satan and other hoax games, Luna Game appeared under very mysterious circumstances. Sad Satan appeared after a story about it surfaced and made it a very popular subject, while Luna Game came in the very early phases of the Brony fandom. Someone uploaded it to a popular Brony site, and within less than 6 hours, the site retracted a post and made a formal apology. After said apology, the site tightened up its submitting requirements, even having someone review every submission before it goes through. However, what about Luna Game itself? Really, its horror comes from its simplicity. You're playing as Luna in a Mario ripoff clone. You are thinking nothing of it. Wow, this is Mario with ponies, and it's kinda stupid looking. It seems like a very tongue-in-cheek video game, where Mario is now a pony. At the time, a lot of bronies were experimenting with pixel art, and it did not raise any suspicion when it was uploaded. Many bronies, including myself, played the game only for this screen to show up, files being copied onto your computer, and some even reported the game itself being a virus that infects the computer and constantly installs this creepy image even after the game's been removed. It's unknown who made the game to this day. It was just one of those strange things that you would have to experience to understand why it made this list. However, other iterations were made of this game, and as of this point, it is unsure who the original author that made the original was. However, the other games in the Luna Game series were not quite as disturbing as the original Luna Game event. And I do describe it as an event, because if you're sitting there late at night and you simply download this game thinking it's gonna be some weird pony fun, only to get this, leads to a very frightening, creepypasta-esque real-life moment.
Any game where you develop deep connections with characters just to have them die can lead to the feeling of discomfort, sadness, and a disturbed state of mind. However, when in a game that is story-based has you interact with other characters that are similar to you in a situation, that's just fucked. It will lead to a feeling of assured uneasiness. Characters are killed, and the story really does give you the feeling that you're being locked in a massive house of death with no means of fighting back. People will die. Basically, the gameplay is pretty lackluster, mostly a collection of elements from visual novels allowing you to control the actions of characters along specific plot points. Honestly, it's kinda disturbing to play this game alone. One of the most disturbing features are the stills of the murders that take place if you mess up or happen to come to a plot point that involves the deaths of other people. The original Corpse Party is censored both here and in Japan. However, the new PS Vita version will be completely uncensored. It should also be mentioned that there is an anime produced about the series. It's, of course, uncensored and considered to be one of the most fucked up and downright disturbing animes of all time. And that's saying something. Unfortunately, as of this recording, there is no known English dub.
On April 20th, 1999, a planned attack occurred at Columbine High School involving shootings, bombs, propane tanks, and other explosive devices. Almost 6 years later, an RPG based on the events of the shooting was created by Danny Ledone. Players assumed the role of gunmen Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold and act out the events of the massacre. In contrast to the 16-bit style, it actually used digitized photographs from the shooting and voice samples from news reports. The game received overwhelmingly negative responses from players, the media, and those affected by the massacre. RPGs for other school shootings like the Sandy Hook shooting or the one at Virginia Tech were also made out of this game.
This is one of those propaganda games. However, on top of that, it is one that is made to help get kids into jihadi groups. The original idea came from the game America's Army, a freely distributed game that runs on a lot of PCs, and would help the youth join what is supposedly a good cause. The game starts with blaring music and the sound of horses constantly in the background. It sounds robotic at times, and as though the singer is bored. The audio is also highly compressed, and due to the fact I have no chance of understanding it or learning what song it is. I find the music very unnerving to listen to, especially after extended play. The game consists of several levels where you are attempting to kill United States soldiers and breaking into US military bases. The final level is entitled Hunting Bush Like a Rat, and has you breaking into a bunker where you have to take out Bush. The end battle is almost humorous as you are easily able to kill him with a grenade launcher, but it only serves to suggest that America is weak to the youth who actually play this game. In general, the game is easy and made intentionally so for this very purpose. It's hard to find the game itself. However, if you do, playing this game as an American, it can be quite unsettling. I do not condone or endorse this game in any way, shape, or form. so players' discretion is strongly advised. This video game is sponsored by the Communist Youth League and puts the player into the role of the Chinese army fighting Japanese soldiers during the Second Sino-Japanese War. The League has deemed the product a patriotic game and will not include an option for players to play as Japanese units. You select from 17 Chinese characters deriving from all walks of life. The game is generating a lot of hype from young Chinese gamers even before its release. The violence level is reduced and fighting is only shown in miniature form. In addition to this, killing of other soldiers is prohibited. The time frame depicted in the game is from 1937 to 1945. The disturbing part is how the game does not accurately depict the war and instead goes more for a Chinese is the master race type of feel. In this horrible game, the Japanese people are depicted as uglier and easier to kill, and you have to grind them for hours just to make any progress. While the violence of the game was reduced over time, the fact is you are playing a game that is supposed to promote anti-Japanese propaganda to a mostly younger audience. And to me, that is simply creepy. The game was popular for quite a while. However, as of right now, the state of its servers are unknown. The only videos that have surfaced are these screenshots and this promotional advertisement uploaded on YouTube. If any of you know how to get more footage of this lost, deplorable game, feel free to comment down below and a follow-up video may be made discussing the game more in depth.
This virtual reality video game was created by a group of students in France and was made to let players live out the events of 9/11. Gamers would use the Oculus Rift to live out the real-life events and would assume the role of someone trapped on the upper floors of the Twin Towers. In the game, victims could be found gasping for air, breaking windows, and even jumping. According to the official website, the game was developed over 3 months with 2 actors hired for voice and motion capture. The creator said that it was based on countless hours of research to properly try to recreate the experience of being trapped on the top floors of the Twin Towers during 9/11. It was named after the exact time the first hijacked plane crashed into the World Trade Center. The game received almost immediate controversy once it surfaced online. However, the creative director Anthony Kraft stated, "We wanted to portray a historical event as an individual's event. It was the intention to let people have their own reaction and their own point of view." Some players found the game to be too unpleasant, including Denise Matusa, a woman who lost her husband in the attacks. She called the game disgusting.
Zogs Nightmare is the definition of Nazi garbage, and I don't have any problem saying it. While I, admittingly, am no social justice warrior, the idea that Zogs, Zionist-occupied government, has people that follow it, quite frankly, makes me sick. Several documentaries on the subject, including some that have little children playing this game because parents won't let them play anything else, is just fucked up in every sense of the term. If you don't know what the Zionist-occupied government is, it's a racist conspiracy theory that Jewish people control the government from the shadows. Think the reptilian theory, but just replace it with Jews and you understand how these people view Jewish culture as a whole. This insidious movement has created several games, and while I found Zogs Nightmare 1 and 2, finding this rumored third game has proven difficult. Either way, you play as a member of the movement and you kill Jewish people amongst other racist religions and creeds. Police can be seen wearing the Star of David, so you know they are of Jewish descent. Heavy metal music can be heard playing in the background. Terrible music, mind you. Lyrics include that of many racial slurs and just overall ignorant comments that will make anyone feel uneasy. Zogs Nightmare is a disturbing game. It's a piece of bullshit neo-Nazi racist trash. There is nothing redeeming about this game. Period.
This game technically does not even exist, and it's due to the concepts that this game presents. Starts off with you as a orange jumpsuit wearing prisoner of Guantanamo. You're supposed to kill the guards and escape or live life and die under their horrible oppression. The guards were originally United States served armed security personnel, basically military. However, after controversy happened, they changed this to mercenaries. That's when the Scottish government demanded to see the contents of the game. So far, they have found the content so messed up and so lewd that it led to the studio being shut down and the game never being released. Apparently, the game was much more violent than your average affair, and it made many who saw it become physically uncomfortable. It was also designed to be an anti-American propaganda game. The game was apparently satire, and was supposed to point out the flaws in the American prison system. Nonetheless, a lot of people who played it simply stated that it was distasteful, and the violence made it very, very uncomfortable, as though the developers had some sort of vendetta against America. Either way, this is one disturbing game I'm glad didn't see store shelves. Postal is quite literally the opposite of Postal 2. The game is an isometric game, and you play as a spree killer. I talked about this a little bit on my Postal theory, where I think that the Postal guy from Postal 1 and Postal guy from Postal 2 are simply the same person, and just one is a hallucination. However, if you want to learn more about that, you can watch my video on it. But for those of you who have yet to watch the video, here's the rundown. You are the Postal Dude, a trench coat wearing cure for the scum of the earth crazy nut job. You run through the levels killing quite literally everything. In some levels, they even contain no resistance, meaning that you're really only hearing sounds of people screaming and gunshots firing and the spew from your weapons. Honestly, playing this game late at night made me feel incredibly uncomfortable. And really, it was hatred before hatred made itself a joke. The game contains artwork of weird shadow people, and during the cutscenes you can read excerpts from the Postal Dude's manifesto, similar to how other spree killers of the times did their killings and did their own writing. In general, Postal is a poorly designed game with gameplay and cheapness that really adds to the disturbing nature that this game provides. If you want to feel uncomfortable late at night, be your guest, but I'm personally done with this one. KZ Manager is a strange breed of game that disturbs many players. It's an old game with little to no music, and its subject matter garnered many controversy back in its day. Many iterations of the game have appeared, from an Amiga to a DOS to even a Windows XP port. If you don't know what KZ Manager is, then I won't blame you. It's a game where you manage resources for a Nazi concentration camp. You have to manage how many Jews you kill, how much gas you bring in, and public opinion. You need Jews to make money, you need to kill Jews to keep public opinion high, and you need gas to kill Jews, all of which costs money. Honestly, the game is simplistic. However, the art behind the game makes it feel very uncomfortable to play. And the lack of music and sound effects also adds to this odd atmosphere, staying up late at night with nothing but the clanking of your old keyboard to keep you company as you manage resources to kill millions of people. And that can make one feel incredibly unnerved. While a lot of people have claimed this game is just too horrible for the consumer eyes, I'll concede that the disturbing subject matter really comes from the game's cheapness and lack of gameplay itself. It's kind of funny how the lack of graphics and actual in-game assets really does serve to remove the faces of millions of people who died in the Holocaust. And to that, this game earned its spot.
The horrifying aspects of this game is not presented at first, but it really does come from its story and atmosphere. You learn that you are killing innocent civilians and US troops alike, and that's enough to end it there. You can be considered the bad guy in this, and the fact that all the killing is going on makes you question why you're even doing such things. This game was made to test your moral fiber and challenges you with tough decisions that are just heart-wrenching and downright terrible. And finally, why don't you sit down behind cover for a little while, listen to some conversations presented by the quote-unquote bad guys, and you'll hear about their family, their life, and what they actually want to do after all this, only to be killed by, you guessed it, your gunfire.
Divi Dead is a Japanese 2D adult game released by Seizeware in 1998. The game's theme falls into the category of adult horror, as it deals with supernatural and sexual topics. Certain images from the game are very brutally violent and strange, as that's the usual recurring theme with Japanese games, while others are lighthearted and erotic. It is a visual novel that involves a supernatural mystery, which the player solves in order to complete the game. The player makes certain decisions throughout the story which may lead to different endings for the game. Along with True Love, Divi Dead is often credited for being one of the more loving games that started the interest in adult games outside of Japan. An English translation was released by Hemasoft. And I have to say, life has been rough for Rimaru Hayabuka. I hope I got the translation right. Bedridden as a child with a mysterious illness, he's had to spend most of his time alone, drugged, wondering if he would live to adulthood. Now, however, things are getting better for him. His health has improved. He only experiences the occasional seizure. Also, he's been enrolled in his uncle's distinguished institution. This only leaves one to wonder what the hell is going to happen afterwards.
Also known as Say a Song, this visual novel immediately kicks you into the deep end. You play as a young medical student, after he ends up in the hospital thanks to a car crash, leaving him with no parents and a severe brain disorder called agnosia. Agnosia disturbs one's view of the world by covering it in blood and gore, and transforming humans and animals into hideous, lumbering monsters. A woman named Saya is the only one who appears as a normal human girl, and it doesn't take long for our protagonist to fall in love with her. What he doesn't know is that Saya is actually a gruesome, human-eating monster, displayed beautifully by his agnosia. A little later on in the game, when our young medical students come home after a long, torturous day of school, he is confronted with a delicious smell coming from his living room. In the living room, he finds Saya eating some sort of fruits. Unable from eating normal food, he immediately digs in. Later on, we find out that normal food looks like gore and puss to our protagonist, and he opts to eat corpses instead. Two young Iranian nuclear scientists, Saeed and his wife Mariam, are kidnapped by the US military and are sent to a prison in Israel. An Iranian special operations agent is sent to Israel to save the scientists and 4 other Iranians. While in Israel, the agent also exposes an Israeli Iranian responsible for leaking classified information about Iran's nuclear program to Western powers. The name of his mission is The Secret Operation. As an American, it really does set a feeling of unease. Honestly, the game itself is cheap and made by a group of Islamic students. The game was created as a response to another game titled Assault on Iran. According to the Union's Secretary General, the game was inspired by Iran's supreme leader and aims to encourage ideals such as defense, sacrifice, and martyrdom. Ethnic Cleansing is a first-person shooter video game for Microsoft Windows computers, created by the American white nationalist organization called National Alliance, and published by its record label Resistance Records on January 21st, 2002. As part of the race war, the player controls a neo-Nazi, or a Klansman, and is tasked to kill stereotypical African-American, Latino, and Jewish enemies. White nationalism is an ideology that advocates a racial definition of national identity. These individuals' identity are attached to the perceived white nation. So clearly, this is a video game with a bad idea to begin with. However, this game's sound design is something that makes me feel uncomfortable. The game starts off with a lot of just drones and groans. Then it includes audio from old speeches from other white nationalist members. When you get in the game, there is no music whatsoever. Just the old stock audio of your shoes hitting the floor and the sound of your loud gun, killing Jews, gays, blacks, Mexicans, so on. When black people in the game die, the sounds of monkeys can be heard, and it's a sad thing that some people take this game seriously. They think that something like this should or would happen in our near future. The reason why this game was on our list is because of its real-world application. It takes this pretty seriously. It's another one of those games that skinhead parents give to their children in order to influence their way of thinking.
This game is awful by any definition of the word. However, as an atheist, I find this game's content generally just unnerving, simply because I've met people who think like the way this game wants you to think. Basically, you play as a very good Christian who got left behind after the rapture. The Antichrist is a president and converting people into evil atheists and rebuilding the world in an oppressive anti-Christian image. So as a good God-fearing Christian, you convert as many people to the cause. Or, and this is where the unnerving part comes into, kill them if they refuse. The motto of this game literally is kill or convert. This does not mean it's a good game. Hell, the controls are awful and the terrible graphics are awful, among a plethora of other issues. However, the idea that you have to kill or convert someone is simply unnerving. It promotes a us against them mentality, and that there is no middle ground in between. It's just what people did in the Dark Ages, and it ended with really bad results. And now we have a game quite literally sponsored, and I mean sponsored, by GameStop, among other companies that has the same message. If you're a Christian that thinks that all other people who are not Christian should learn to love Jesus, and if not, should die, then this game will feel nice, at least on a narrative standpoint. However, for the rest of us who aren't crazy, we will see this on the same level as any other disturbing propaganda game. Trash. The game starts you out with just you walking down some streets while gangs of atheists attempt to kill you. You make it to a church and then the next level begins and now you have a partner. As the game progresses, your following increases and soon you become the threat, killing anyone who refuses to convert to your religion. I really hope I don't have to describe why this game is simply fucked up, as a lot of parents have given this game to their children as a supposedly proper game without all those bad ideas. After all, it's Christian, and Christian ideas, even radical Christian ideas, are nothing but fantastic and good. Now, this isn't an anti-Christian thing. I am simply saying that radical Christians who think people should die are terrible. Let's all hope we can agree on that.
Under Ash is a first-person shooter, sometimes explained as a response to how Arabs are pictured in most video games, and how America's Army is also pictured in particular. Like America's Army, it is considered to be video game propaganda. However, it differs from America's Army in that it is not available freely. The player takes the role of Ahmed, a Palestinian opposed to the Israeli occupation, or Zionists. Through the course of the video game, Ayme progresses by throwing rocks at Israeli soldiers to destroy Israeli military positions. The game has been criticized for being too hard, and is designed so that it's easy to be killed. If you shoot a civilian, the game ends automatically. In the end, it isn't even possible to achieve a victory. When the game was first published, 10,000 copies sold out in a week. Its relevance to the fighting in the Middle East made it a controversial video game. The developers say that it was made with a similar motive to Delta Force or America's Army. Under Ash was followed up with Under Siege.
School Days is a popular erotic visual novel that inspired various spin-offs across different media, including Cross Days, a game where you play with literal cock control and out you as a pervert if you try it on private. Lucky you. In School Days, your character is a kid named Makoto, who gets involved in a romantic triangle with two classmates that you had to get him out of without breaking the hearts of either girl. Now, here's where the interesting part comes in, because if you do, that's when shit gets real. That's what happens if you string along one of the girls, then start seeing another one on the side. The first girl catches wind of it and kills her rival with a hacksaw. When you think about it, this means that even the happy endings are secretly terrifying. Because now you're either dating or very good friends with a potential psychopath just waiting to snap. If instead of cheating on the first girl, you actually break up with her to date the other one guilt-free, then the one you just dumped jumps off a bridge and lands headfirst in the cement right in front of you. Even if you try to do things right, things still end up soaked in blood. School Days was so popular that they even released a version for the PS2 that censored all the porn scenes, but made up for it by even adding more violent endings. For example, if you stick with the first girl and ignore the other one, then at the end of the game, she pushes your girlfriend in front of an oncoming train, leaving you holding her disembodied hand. Then, in another possible ending, it's both girls who are run over by a train after one tastefully tries to kill the other. And in another one, it's you, as if to acknowledge that the bad endings that you get if you play the game wrong are the most popular feature. The 2007 School Days adaptation ends with the protagonist getting decapitated and his girlfriend dead.
One guy and 6 girls wake up in a white room. Immediately, our male protagonist is told that he is the key, and that one of the 6 girls is the keyhole. Yes, this is one of those sexualized video games, but unfortunately, unlike most of those games, this one goes a lot further. And when I say a lot, I mean that the game is basically sexual assault with horrendously grotesque imagery. The worst thing about this is that our friendly, heroic protagonist seems to be enjoying himself in the middle of all this. Most of the stills from this game we can't even show you, and if you try to Google it, you should probably keep Safe Search on. If you're into this kind of stuff, well, it recently got an English release. However, I can say please keep this kind of thing a fantasy, because the gore, the rape, truly one of the most disturbing games on this list, even though it has a safe button.
Hey guys, I would like to thank you for making it this far into our disturbing games list. It was a really hard one to do, and I really didn't want to go for more of a cliche type of thing. However, since you made it this far, perhaps you'd be willing to indulge me in something. Recently, I was sponsored by a AMINO, a app which is a fun little horror thing you can get on your phone. I would like you to do me a favor and actually download the app. There's no ads, there's no viruses on it, trust me. And after this video, for about the next 3 hours, I will be on the public chat room, TCR's Creepy Corner. And if you'd like to chat with me about the show or do anything like that, you can always do it on AMINO Horror. I would like to quickly mention that this is sponsored, by the way. I am indeed being paid to promote this app, but I would also like to mention that I should not have to promote this app. Really, this is a great place where a lot of horror content creators can come together and just express themselves and talk about everything horror, whether it's movies, creepypastas, or whatever. I'd also like to state that further on in the week, I will be doing a creepypasta writing contest on this app, so yes, the links are in the description below. You can get this on Android or iTunes-enabled devices, whatever, Apple, whatever, I don't care. Anyway, links are in the description below. Thanks for paying attention. Thanks for watching this video. It's really mean a lot, and I would like to see you next time. And on the screen right now, you'll see all the contributors who helped with this video. Like Sir Ayme. He didn't narrate in this, but he did help write, so you should definitely check out his channel out. He does creepypasta narrations. Thank you for indulging me. This has been your host, That Creepy Reading, signing off.